and welcome to another AGENTWOW video, and this is a very special video because I've actually got two industry figureheads on the couch with me. I've got Peter Rollins, I've got Ed Mead. We're going to do a video today. We're going to talk about the industry, we're going to talk about what's new with Viewber, but it's feeling a little bit too much like a date at the moment, so I'm going to step the other side of the camera and fire questions at you guys if that's okay, and give you a bit more room.
Yep,
Is that all right?
That would be a very good idea, Dan.
No problem. So the last time, certainly you were here, Ed, we were talking about kind of Viewber and how that was going. Has lots changed? I mean, I've read lots changed, so I suppose we should start with that.
Yeah, no, it's been a very exciting journey. I think I was last year, it must have been the thick end of a year ago talking, and we were barely 8 months post-launch. 1,000 Viewbers, maybe 50 customers. You know, suddenly we've got hundreds of customers, 4,500 Viewbers. You know, turnover's gone for £1 million a year. It's a very different business from what it was then, and I think the good news is that it's whilst some people still have their doubts about that bit of the industry and how it's going to develop and how best to use their resources, people have begun to accept that the company itself is a what's the right word? It's quite a good reputation. We always thought quality was the first thing to look at and maintain. So they're beginning to realise that the service itself works. It's just a question of how they can use it. And in certain areas of the UK, unusually most of them tend to be cities actually. We thought it would initially be much more out in the countryside, but we found ourselves supplanting a lot of weekend staff for people. I think weekend staff, certainly as an agent at Douglas and Gordon, we used to find our Saturday diaries, forget Sundays by the way, this was just Saturdays, our diaries used to fill up by Wednesdays, and if you called on Thursday or Friday to see a property at the weekend, you wouldn't even get a look in. So we've really made some headway with that, and more importantly, we have plenty of opportunities to see that some of our customers have really made quite a lot of money off the back of opening up those days. So the journey has been fascinating for me, fascinating to sit in and watch and learn a lot about the industry, and it's also been fun having Peter involved. I mean, Peter obviously has, Peter and I used to be competitors in the old days at Douglas and Gordon and Foxton's. This is going back a long, long way.
A rather large space on the couch.
Peter obviously was in, he bought Marsh & Parsons, sold Marsh & Parsons, had a sort of gardening leave period, and is now an investor and a non-exec on our board. But it's been fascinating going in and doing some pitches for some business with Peter, because we are very different in terms. I mean, Peter's well known as being a very commercial, dare I say, quite hard nosed. You know, Foxton's and M&P were pretty.
I'm a pussycat, you know.
Whereas perhaps my reputation was slightly different, and so it's been very useful. It's been really interesting watching our sort of complementary skills. So in terms of Viewber, it's been fascinating. Some great people attracted to the business. Some great people using the business.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, when I first heard about Viewber, as you know, I wasn't sold on the idea. But the minute you started explaining to me that it wasn't a replacement, because that was the craziness, and that it was an extra, an add-on for all sorts of businesses to be 7 days a week, and evenings and weekends, which I know is the problem, and I've seen how it's unbelievably working. Yeah, I'm sold on it.
Yeah, I think Peter's phrase was it's low tech, prop tech, rather than too high tech.
Yeah,
so,
which is
just
useful low tech, prop tech.
I think low tech prop tech's what everyone's after at the moment.
It is, isn't it? I saw so much high tech prop tech that was genius and brilliant, but frankly, it was useful to about that much of the market, and would never make money, and I don't think anyone would ever use it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many of these sort of things come out. They're thought up by very bright people, but they're thought up by people who often perhaps haven't got agency experience, so they can't. They never quite worked out whether the agent would say yes. And bearing in mind that 80% of probably the people watching this are business owners who tend to be, dare I say, guys like me and Peter, sort of, you know, middle-aged men, women, whatever. They're very entrepreneurial, and to persuade them to do anything is based on cost and whether it's going to work for them, and
add value,
and add value, and a lot of these things don't. So
no, it's true.
The whole idea with PropTech is, as great as it is, it needs to be integrated with something that kind of echoes the service that people are kind of expecting from an agent, and that no amount of technology can ever take away from the fact that that physical agent is the one that's offering that kind of service level, which is kind of exactly where Viewber kind of fits the bill, I guess.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if you go back into history, there is a very successful buying agency in London called Property Vision, which everyone's heard of at the sort of top end of the market. And the clues in the name, their original brief was actually they thought they could sell properties by going around and videoing them and selling them. And the issue with that is that these days there are so many brilliant I Spy 360, Matterport, a lot of these companies that can brilliantly render the inside of a property, but to fully understand a property, buying a property is an emotional process. You have to go and feel the area and get in and have a look at the thing. So whilst these technologies may enable you to get better qualified viewers, you've still got to get in and see the place. And if you're our kids' age, mid-20s, whatever, if they're going to go, I mean, admittedly they're probably too young and not rich enough to go and buy yet, but even in the rental market, they want to go and see things when they want to go and see them. They don't want to be told you've got to do it on Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, which was the old fact. In our day, if someone didn't want to come and see a property at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, they probably weren't serious.
That's right.
and nowadays that is, which is outrageous, but the system, people's expectations are changing, and there will be a generational shift at some point in the next few years where those people will become the buyers. And if people don't react in the way that they expect, they'll just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, it is the now generation, isn't it? Everything is available whenever they want it. So, as we said, and I think we touched on this quite a bit with a lot of the people that are offering the prop tech, is that agents need to kind of follow that lead and have things accessible when people want it. People are looking for houses at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And the video thing is great, and they can see the house and that. But I think that's just kind of a prelim to actually going and seeing the property and having the agent and having the interaction. I think that's where the importance lies.
As the saying goes, lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Yeah, it's
that
last mile thing. I mean, it always used to fascinate me in the Foxtons. I mean, it's not quite the same now because they don't have quite so many people in the offices. But I remember when we, for instance, at Douglas and Gordon, we would have 3 or 4 salespeople in an office, and you go around the corner to Foxtons, and there'd be like 22 people sitting in the office. And of course, in those days, you could service a 7-day-a-week market. You've got 22 people, you're always going to get people around to see properties. The guys who were working there were really hungry, they were young, they were ready to go. That's changed so much now. People can't afford, even the Foxtons offices no longer have. They have sort of 6 or 7 people, and it's very, very difficult to service that bit of the market. And I think we've really found a vindication at Viewber for servicing that bit of the market, that bit that the agents can't service during the week. I'm certainly not trying to replace that bit of the market, but that turning a fixed cost, if you're in London, even if you're outside London, it's probably costing you 35, 40 grand a year to employ a neg with car, national insurance, holidays, all that sort of stuff. You can do a hell of a lot of viewings for that money.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that obviously the Viewber dynamic is changing, the company's changed, the company's evolved. Has anything changed in the way that you're offering Viewber or the way that Viewber's working, the method with Viewber, the amount of viewers? I know that last time we spoke you had a certain amount of viewers and you were attracting people with certain kind of levels of experience or at certain stage of their life. I mean, have you seen any of that evolve with the growth?
What we've done is develop a system where probably between 30 and 35% of people who apply to us to be viewers pass vetting. So we've massively enhanced the vetting procedure. How can I put this politely? Even when I was running an agency, I remember that there were still mess-ups. The negotiator would be late, would go to the wrong property, whatever. You get a mess-up. There's a natural mess-up rate with these things. What we want to do is minimise that for our customers. It's less than 1%, but the only way we get that better and better and better is to iterate the vetting process and to make sure that our viewers are better and better vetted. So that's certainly changed. I mean, certainly in the ways in which people use our viewers has been interesting. I mean, we've developed, for instance, things where people can book a Viewber all day. So they can have someone come in on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, pick up a load of keys, go out and do a whole day's tour and then drop them back. We do a lot of pro forma inspections. We do a lot of stuff now for overseas investors who want to buy.
Okay,
You can't go and see a property. They will employ a Viewber to go around and meet the agent and check whether what they're saying is right in a vaguely objective manner. So a lot of those sort of things which have developed, which were unusual, but it's mainly the vetting of the Viewbers and the better quality. When I last saw we had 1,000, now we got 4,500. So that's continuing on a sort of J curve. Really.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of growth. Yeah. And the agents' adoption, obviously, you're getting the viewers, you've got more viewers, there are more viewings to do, but the agents are, I mean, this is fitting seamlessly in with them and they're all happy and very accepting of Viewber?
Well, they're just going about their daily lives and this is something they can either accept or not accept as they feel like it. It really works well. People can just fit it in around their lives. but because we have a very high density. And by the way, if we don't have a density, one of the most extraordinary questions we get asked by an agent when we go to see them is, do you have coverage in? Which is not surprising. People say, do you have coverage in wherever it is, Leamington Spa, whatever it is. We guarantee to do any viewing anywhere within 24 hours. So my answer always is, yeah, we've got UK coverage. But do you cover? Yes, we've got 24-hour UK coverage. People don't quite grasp that that's what we offer. We guarantee to do a viewing anywhere in the UK with at least 24 hours notice. That's a hell of a commitment.
Fantastic.
And someone tested you recently, didn't they? We won't say who it is, but
Yeah.
it was from literally, was it Scotland to
Yeah, they
to
gave us
Devon.
3 properties to, they said, well, we like your service, we're going to give you 3 properties to do viewings on. One was an hour north of Inverness, one was just inland from Truro, and the other was in the middle of Wales. So that was a big test, and we didn't have any problem with that, because we've now developed proprietary ways of getting viewers within certain areas and vetting them very quickly.
So it wasn't the same Viewber, just with a t-shirt, 4 dates on the back.
He was very busy.
No, we try and, I mean, half the point is that our viewers are local. That's the whole point. So
So they know the area.
they know the
local
area,
people.
and yeah. So.
And how are you finding Viewber and obviously increased interactions with Ed over here?
Great. I mean, I had a 2-year non-compete, which was an enforced 2-year holiday. It was really tough. I hated every moment. No, it's great, and it's great to get this going again and to be thinking about building a business again. I love building businesses. It's I find it really exciting and inspiring, really. And this is, if I'm honest, this is far better than I thought it would be. I had a vision and a fear that we'd just be scrabbling around the bottom for a while, but my God, as Ed just mentioned, the J-curve on the Viewbers, the J-curve on the business, I think, is very exciting, and it's got lots of different aspects that I personally think means that it's going to go places, and I've always wanted to be involved with successful businesses. So yeah, it's good. And he and I talk probably 2 or 3 times a week. We go on pitches together, which, having battled with him for years and years and years,
You can now see
having
why I
the
used to
enemy
win.
on the inside.
You can now see why I used to win them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's pretty good, I must say. No, it's fun. Business is about fun. The minute you stop having fun in anything, you should give up and stop doing it. But no, it's great fun.
It's quite fun going in to see people together, because I mean, quite a lot of people in the industry know who we are, and we come from very different places, really. Foxton's, and obviously following that, Peter's success at Marsh & Parsons, people look at Peter as a very commercially minded agent. Douglas and Gordon, when I was there, was very much known as a sort of service agent. We prided ourselves, to be blunt, on not being Foxton's. That there was a sort
There's
of
your mistake.
we thought we had a more service-orientated element. These days, it is about being successful and making the money, growing, doing all the things which
It's a bit
Foxton's
of
have
both.
done. And actually,
if you combine the Foxton's method,
Well-
mentality with anyway.
but it is
ancient
interesting. We
history.
were talking in the car on the way up here about the fact that if you look around the countryside, if you look around the country now, and the people that run all of the successful estate agents, a very large majority of them, or a very large number of them,
Yeah.
are run by people who used to work for Peter at Foxton's.
Yeah.
It is extraordinary.
It's a brilliant training
It was a
ground.
great incubator
Yeah,
for people
Yeah.
talking
And
about
it's a
hard
work ethic. I mean, that's as simple as that. This is not a difficult business to do. It's a difficult business to do well, estate agency. And what Foxton's, and to an extent, or to a large extent, Marsh & Parsons did was identify the people that care, that give a shit, frankly. And if you give a shit in this business, you've got real chances. And then if you work really hard doing that, it's not.
I should let you know my beeper's broken.
Is it? Am I not allowed to say that? Everyone
You can
says that,
say whatever you
surely.
want. You're the Walker and Wise of the property industry at this moment in time. You can say whatever you want. What I was going to ask you, actually, is,
Sorry.
have you Viewbered? Have you done it?
It's a good point. No, I haven't.
Are you
It's a
going
very
to?
good point.
It's the
Do
same
you
question
know,
I asked Ed.
I'm
to
as
be
tight
honest
as
with
a duck's arse, so frankly, if I could get paid 20 quid to go and show a house in where I live in West Sussex, it's probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
Keep me
I mean-
busy.
I mean, to be fair, I've got a lot of friends and family who do it,
Yeah.
and they love it. I mean, I do remember when I first came up with the idea, the Times did a really nice piece on it, and Jesse Hewitson did a piece in the Times in Bricks and Mortar, and the editor of Bricks and Mortar, who still is the editor of Bricks and Mortar, Anne Ashworth, turned around to me and said, "Do you know something?" She said, "This is people's. Everyone in the UK thinks they're an expert about property, and this is their opportunity to try and show that they're better than their estate agent." Which is why she thought it would work. And actually, people just have a fascination with property and showing it, and they love
it's fun.
They love doing it. So from that perspective, it's. I suppose the difficulty for some people, and I know this is one of Peter's original concerns about the way Viewber might work, was that of course estate agents are very worried about their brand, and handing over their brand to someone they don't know to turn up and show a property is a real risk. Of course, it's a huge risk. But because I come from that sort of background, I'm well aware of what one needs to do to have the Viewber saying the right things, doing the right things. It's not like there's no training that goes on with these sort of things. And actually, luckily, that has proved to not be an issue for our customers. It's one of the first things they ask, but it's one of the last things they moan about. So from that perspective, that's been what was originally a source of concern, and Peter quite rightly articulated it.
Yeah.
It hasn't been borne out in
But
practice.
you're reassuringly fussy about who you bring on.
Yeah, well, as I said, with a 35% hit rate, we do turn away a lot of people who do it. So.
That's key, as you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it all sounds great. It sounds like since the last time we spoke, the company has just flown. The acceptance is there. People are definitely getting more used to this. I mean, the thing to ask is that, does this end in property? Because aside from the name Viewber, you can see this kind of system working, you know, outside of this industry. And,
well, if you're asking me a question, the answer is no. Of course, it doesn't stop with property. You know, there are lots of other parts of industry that we're talking to, particularly, for instance, insurance. I mean, if you think about how insurance works and personal lines, domestic insurance, if someone makes a claim these days, a lot of the insurance companies struggle with understanding how to triage those claims when they come in and check whether they're real. You don't want to send somebody along who's going to cost you 500 quid if they're not going to be able to validate a £1,500 claim. So the idea that for 30 quid you can send someone around to take a quick picture of a burst pipe or a fire that's gone out, will probably weed out those who are making a fraudulent claim, number one, because they'll say, "Oh, actually, don't worry about it." Secondly, the customer, the insurer, the person who's being insured will think, "Oh, great, they're sending someone round. That's really good. That's good customer care." And thirdly, it'll enable them to triage that claim straight away. So there are some very obvious uses where for 30 quid to have someone anywhere in the UK able to carry out a low complex task. So that's just one of a number of other industries we're talking to. And indeed other countries. We've had an awful lot of approaches from overseas from people who want to use our model. But of course we need to concentrate on doing what we do well, which is servicing the agents at the moment and doing what we're doing. There's a huge market here, and those wonderful entrepreneurs I was talking about earlier who run all the businesses, a lot of them take a long time to change or make up their minds that they want to try something. So we've still got plenty of work to do yet.
But it won't be long before it's going to be very difficult for me to book an interview with you guys. By the sounds of
obviously.
Well, that's because he'll be living in the south of France and I'm too busy.
You're still Viewbering.
I might be. I'm inspired, Ed. Actually, I'm going to sign up today.
That's rubbish.
No, it's not.
Will you pass the vetting? That is the problem.
That's a very good point.
It's you know, there's the 35% hit rate there. But no, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. I'd pay someone 30 quid not to have to feed my sister's cat next time she goes on holiday, to be honest with you. So you can
exactly.
You can see it going absolutely anywhere and everywhere.